first talk about the overall picture here. Looking at the trust and performance rating of President Bongbong Marcos, this was, of course, this came out, this was released last week. This is the Pulse Asia survey conducted March 23 to 29. That's about more or less 2 weeks after the arrest of the former president. Approval rating and trust rating of President Bongbong Marcos down by 17 points.
You will notice, even in the earlier surveys, no, both were going down. And BBM's numbers are going down a bit faster than Sara's numbers. But when the incident in The Hague, when they surrendered President Duterte to the ICC, there was a big drop in the 17-point drop, no, down to 25%, while Sara got the windfall from that. No? So yung nawala kay BBM, mukhang nag-migrate kay Sara out of sympathy. Now, I was also surprised by those numbers. So I looked at previous Pulse Asia numbers, and they showed that President, in the same period, March 2025 versus Duterte's March 2019 versus Pinoy's February 2013 and Arroyo's March 2007.
Okay.
Puro midterm elections ito, no?
Comparison.
Marcos is down to 25%, but Duterte was 87% during that period.
Yeah.
Aquino was 68%, also quite high. GMA was 30%. So I was surprised at that. I always thought GMA was always the lowest, no, in among all presidents. But tinalo pa niya sa 30% versus 25%. So this is really public sentiment. This is a show of emotion, no? And one must remember that the average Filipino voter votes according to his emotions, according to his sentiments, no? Or in the absence of such, according to the popularity of the individual candidate, no? So meron talagang resentment against the present government. Now, yung slow drop before, yung dati, baba ng baba, could be linked to inflation, high unemployment, the usual economic factors, the quality of life, no, and the cost of living. But itong nangyari sa The Hague, itong nangyari sa ICC, biglang yung resentment na yon umakyat to anger against the government. And that is the result.
So if this survey was taken, you think prior to the arrest and turnover of the president, we're not going to see this big a drop in the president's trust and performance ratings. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Dahil nangyari po ito 2 weeks and sinasabi niyo, ito yung naging sentimiento ng publiko. Let's say that the president is obviously still doing his job, as mentioned a while ago by the Undersecretary Claire Castro. She was basically saying that the president remains unbothered by this because he continues to do his work. Do you think that the president should be unbothered by this, or should he be bothered by this? Bothered to the point that he should do something about it?
Yes, definitely. He should be bothered. No, I mean, I think, alam mo, yung whistling in the dark yung kay Undersecretary Claire Castro na yun, no? The truth is he must be bothered. And even his senatorial candidates are bothered by this, no? Because it really impacts on their winnability in these midterm elections. Now, the question is, what can you do in 3 weeks? No? What can you change the price of rice in 3 weeks? No? Can you change the price of pork and all other food commodities in 3 weeks? No? This has been, in fairness to him, it's not only because of him. It's been a result of neglect of the agricultural sector for far too long. Pero ngayon sa
From
kanya,
previous administrations.
from previous administrations, no? Pagkatapos ngayon sa kanya, sinalo niya,
Sa
and
kanya
then naging
bumagsak.
agriculture secretary pa siya, wala namang nagawa nung panahon na agriculture secretary siya.
Grabe ka.
It has become too complex an issue. It's not easy to solve.
But I still question that 17% drop. I know you had given me
Grabe ka, ha?
reasons for that. Pero ang laki ho kasi nung 17% eh.
Hindi, kasi meron ng tampo, o sabihin natin, meron ng resentment ang tao dahil nga the quality of life has really gone down. No? What we call the middle class are now part of the new poor. No? Because you can hardly afford it with the wages that they are getting, no? And the prices that they have to cope up with. No? Pati kuryente, pati lahat, no? Lahat ng utilities. So, meron na talagang simmering na galit. Pero pumutok itong kay Duterte na ito, yun, nagkumbulsyon na, so to speak.
Could it also be the proliferation, they say, of fake news? That's what, again, Undersecretary Castro was saying. We have that statement made by the Undersecretary.
So, sa 2,400, hindi naman po ito nagre-reflect.
At 2,400, does this represent the 100 plus million Filipinos? But we all know that in every survey, it's really just 2,400 more or less, plus and 3 minus marginal error. Ganun naman ho ang ating
That is the
nakasanayan.
usual response of those who are not happy about the survey results. No? But we know better. No? We should know better. I can forgive her. She's a lawyer. She's not an economist or a statistician.
Let's go to her second point. The proliferation of fake news.
But both sides naman yung fake news eh. Diba? I mean, both sides have their armies of trolls, one has the DDS, one has the Marcos loyalists. Kanya-kanyang ano yan eh. They're just tit for tat. Where some of the so-called political analysts or pundits were saying, bakit daw yung black, para medyo dystopian na ad ni Aimee and Sara, yung itim. Bakit daw, it's too negative. Trabaho ng opposition maging negative eh. Hindi naman trabaho ng opposition magbigay ng hope. Ang trabaho ng opposition is precisely ipamukha doon sa mga botante na napakasama ng kondisyon ng buhay natin
Basically
ngayon.
to criticize the present administration. So now that you've talked about that, ano ho bang epekto nun yung pag-endorse ni VP Sara kay presidential sister, Senator Aimee Marcos?
Yeah, when I saw that ad and the endorsement of VP Sara to Senator Aimee, I looked at the Pulse Asia survey, but I looked at the results in every region. No? Hinimay ko bawat region. From Region 1, CAR, lahat yan, all the way to region, to BARM. Okay, looking at Aimee, she's number 1 in the Ilocos region. Still, no? That means Ilocos, CAR, and Region 2. But she's doing number 8, surprisingly, in NCR. No? NCR, nag-number 8 siya. Probably because she was in the news quite often because of the hearings, and prior to that, yung budget, mga tira niya doon sa 2025 budget. But in the Visayas, she's down to 20. And in Mindanao, she's down to 24. No? So talagang dun ang problema niya, Mindanao, Visayas. So, if
kailangan niyang gumamit
the Sara
Did you say, can you
endorsement,
that 20 and 28? Visayas is
20 and
20?
20 sa Visayas, 24 sa
24.
Mindanao. No? That's the ranking. No? Now, if the Sara endorsement, no, is able to turn that around and puts her in the miski 11 or 12, panalo siya.
Ang laki ng
Ang laki na iaangat niya. Because Mindanao is 24% of the vote. The Visayas is 20%, of which more than half, 10.5%, is Cebuano speaking.
It still needs to be proven if a VP Sara endorsement will actually help Senator Aimee Marcos make it to the magic 12. But what are do you think that
But the wind is beneath her wings. The wind is beneath Sara's wings. No? So, look at it now. Si Aimee umalis na doon sa Alyansa. So, the Alyansa has 11 candidates na lang.
10 na.
Yung number 10 pa doon, ay yung
Isa pa.
11, yung isa pa, namamangka ngayon sa dalawang ilog. Siya ngayon yung
Camille
si
Villar.
Camille Villar, no? In-endorse din ni Sara. Yung Duterte, 10 lang yun. No? Ngayon naging 12 sila. Ang kinapos
Yun na
ang
nga.
Alyansa.
It's Duterte plus 2.
Plus 2.
Okay. But balikan ko lang po si Senator Aimee. What is your fearless forecast? Will the endorsement of the Vice President make her win? bring her in the Magic 12, put her in the Magic 12, or do you think yung mga Pilipino, kasi meron din daw ibang nagsasabi na, bakit mo naman nagawa yan sa kapatid mo? Or there are still people who are questioning her loyalty to the Dutertes because after all, she is a Marcos.
Posibleng may fallout yun, ano? But I'm not seeing that fallout in the Ilocos region. Because in the Ilocos region, the brand is Marcos. It is not Bongbong. It's Ferdinand Marcos Sr. No? And Aimee is also a Marcos. No? So
it's not gonna affect that.
maaaring konti. Maaaring may konti. No? And then again, sanay na rin naman ang tao doon sa magkapatid. Abby Binay, Nancy Binay, Cayetano, Alan and Lino. Diba? Ang dami na yan eh. Wala na yan. JV and Jinggoy. Ano na yan? Sanay na tao yan. It's not going to be... Ang question lang is within the next 3 weeks, dapat talaga magsipag si Aimee at magsipag si Sara. If they do their roles very well, this is a fearless forecast. I'm sure Ronald Llamas, my friend Ronald Llamas will disagree with me. I expect 4
Nasaan mo kay Llamas
of
yan?
Sara's candidates. Sabihin na natin Team Sara. 4 to make it, possibly 5.
Okay.
Okay.
For the Senate, rather, Camille Villar. The Vice President also endorsing her at yung kanilang ads sa mga magkakaibigan, walang iwanan. Gaano mo ba katindi kapag sinabi nilang sa mga magkakaibigan walang iwanan?
Wala.
Malaking bagay yun. No? What's going also for Camille, of course, is the fortune. That's the Villar fortune. No?
Yaman.
And in the last weeks of the campaign, that matters a lot. No? Kasi kailangan lang naman idagdag ka dun sa listahan ng
Kasi
ano
may
yan, ng
pera
sample
ka.
ballots ng mga local candidates. No? That can mean a lot. No? So, when we're talking of kanina sabi ko 4, possibly 5. Okay, you have Bongo and Pato, sure na yon, pasok na yon. You have Aimee, Villar, and Marcoleta. Any of those, minimum of 4, max of 5.
So ang maximum mo would be Marcoleta at number 5.
Yeah.
Obviously, you would...
Well, Marcoleta because of the Iglesia
Yeah.
factor.
Pero ibig ko sabihin, para po sa inyo, doon sa tatlo, Aimee, Villar, and Marcoleta, mauuna pong pumasok yung
Not necessarily. Basta doon sa yung tatlong yon, either dalawa lang doon ang papasok or yung tatlo all papasok.
Pero sinabi niyo po kanina, may isa pa na namamangka sa dalawang ilog. And then that is Congresswoman Camille Villar. Now, that's what I want to ask you. How does the endorsement of the VP to Camille differ? Or would they be similar to the endorsement to Senator Aimee Marcos?
Hindi, magkaiba yon because ang problema ni Aimee, yung apelyido niya. No matter how she is a Marcos. So yung galit ng mga tao dun sa pagkakabuwag ng unity team at tingin nila na api si Sara and then of course si Pangulong Duterte pinakulong sa ICC, no? Sobra yung backlash nun kay Aimee. Pero hopefully nga for her magamot yun ng ni endorsement ni Sara, who is for all intents and purposes the titular head of the opposition now, no? Yung kay
Pero
Camille
siguro
naman,
small portion.
ang problema lang ni Camille, NCR or rather Las Piñas is too small a baluarte as against the Ilocos region which is 11%. But on the other hand, I guess for the Villars, they're going to contribute a lot to the local candidates to make sure that her name, Camille's name, is in the sample ballots of the local candidates.
Should she leave Alianza, or should Alianza say it's time to choose, or is there even time to say you should choose?
If I were in Alianza, if I were behind the scenes in the Alianza, I would recommend that we jettison her. Tanggalin natin, no? Kesa leave it hanging. But on the other hand also, if I were working for Camille Villar, I would also recommend na pumalas na siya. Para malinaw na malinaw siya.
Kung sinong totoo niyang kaibigan.
Yeah, she has to choose. Either way.
Dapat lang.
What's the effect of not doing that? Not choosing? For her?
Hindi
Two things
magiging
for her and for a bagong alyansa.
Ayaw ng mga
hindi
tao sa
magiging ganun for her, hindi magiging ganun katindi yung support na makukuha niya because of the endorsement. probably in Davao to work, the Davao region, but in other parts of Mindanao, like northern Mindanao, Zamboanga, and even in Cebu, baka hindi ganun kalaki.
And what is the effect of that if Alianza
It
says,
will demoralize Alyansa.
Yeah!
Kasi pag tiningnan mo, why am I saying for PDP or for the Sara Team Sara, possibly 4 to 5. Meron ka pang isang independent na mukhang mananalo, si Ben Tulfo. No? So, 6 na yan na out of the Alyansa. Magka-crowd ngayon yung mga number 6, 7, all the way down to 12 ng Alyansa. Sila maglalabanan to be inside. No? So, this is going to be a very suspenseful election.
tatlo?
Bongo, Bato, Ben.
Bato.
Yeah.
Bongo, Bato, Tulfo, no?
Yes, sila po ang pasok.
Pero
But then,
pag tinignan mo yung numbers, dikit-dikit, the margins are within the margin of error or
Right.
just slightly lower than the margin of error. So, yung next 3 weeks, pukpukan yan.
how do you see everything maybe panning out in terms of this last trust and performance rating of the president?
The tragedy of the Alyansa coalition, the mix of 5 or whatever number of political parties is, on their own, sikat yung mga yun eh. Kinuha nila yung mga yun based on the survey ratings. Sikat si Soto, si Lacson, si Pacquiao, si
Lapid,
ganon.
si Revilla.
Wala naman yan talagang loyalties na matagalang loyalties sa administrasyon.
Who among them do you think will be most loyal to the administration?
Well, the artistas, no? Lapid,
Revilla.
Bong Revilla, possibly Manny Pacquiao, if he makes it.
Manny Pacquiao?
Because if Mindanao does not vote for Manny Pacquiao, he's gone.
One last question. Senator Bongo, why is he number 1 now? Well, he was always playing dun sa 1, 2, and 3. Pero in the last surveys, and even in the last, I think it was SWS also, not this one, but the last one, nag-number 1 na rin siya. Pero ibig ko sabihin, naunahan na niya si Erwin Tulfo. Why is he number 1? Is it because he's a Duterte, kilala siya bilang tao ni Duterte, dahil ba sa malasakit centers? What is it?
It's a combination of both. One, the malasakit centers, and yung kasipagan niya mag-ikot tuwing may sunog, may baha, may disaster somewhere. Masipag na tao. Pangalawa, when he was the SAP or the Special Assistant to the President, he was the go-to of every mayor and every congressman. Whoever tatawag kay Bongo, hihingi ng project dito, project doon, naaaprubahan ni Presidente Duterte. So may mga utang na loob yan. No? So malaking bagay yon. That's why he never went down beyond 3 or 4, di ba? O ngayon, because of the Duterte sympathy, the emotions, no, that emotional tsunami, tawagin natin, is number 1.
You think he's gonna stay there? You think he'll be number 1?
Of course.
I believe so.
All right. Political strategist, Lito Banay.